That's right. Oh, Face Wrestling. Listen to the podcast. Listen. They are Dark Side approved. Holiday approves it. Oh, Face Wrestling. I'll be listening. Will you?
Hi, I'm MCW Women's Champion Gia Scott, and you're watching O Face Wrestling.
I'm the one-eyed, thick-thighed Woad, and you're watching O Face Wrestling.
Come and listen to O Face Wrestling Podcast with your favorite Siren the Voodoo Doll, aka Nina Monet.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today on O Face Wrestling. This is your host JT, and today I am joined by Zykia. So thank you, Zykia, for joining us today. So right now you're in the process of training to be a wrestler. So when I had seen that on Twitter, I was like, this is a really cool opportunity because I've interviewed plenty of wrestlers on the show and I've asked them about the training and all that, but that was, years in the past, and maybe their memory is a little foggy. I thought it would be a cool idea to talk to someone who's actually currently doing it right now and going through, all the bumps and, all the, I know it's like a pretty big toll on your body and all. So just tell me a little bit about that.
So I think the craziest part about kind of starting the training is the bumps. And they say they're going to hurt, but they hurt a lot more than they mention. It feels kind of like just kind of imagine jumping on a brick maybe. But the mat is really hard. And I think that's the thing that I have to get used to the most because you take bumps for everything. And it made me realize that on TV, even when we think moves aren't kind of impactful, they still hurt the wrestlers. So.
Exactly, because you don't really realize it until you actually go to an event, especially like an indie event that's a lot more smaller and there's not as many people in the crowd, but you don't realize how loud it is when you smack on that mat. It's really, really loud. I never knew it was just wood, and then I thought it was padding and all for the longest time, but it is really loud. And so a lot of people out there who sit there and say, oh, wrestling's fake, take them to an indie event and you just hear the impact your body makes on the ramp and all that kind of stuff. So right now, how far are you in the process of your training?
So I'm month 2, but I don't start full-time training until the summer. That'll be 3 days a week, I believe. But,
okay.
Yeah.
So I seen on Twitter that you were working out with Seth Rollins and Becky, so you got to engage with them a little bit.
Yeah, so that was about probably my 5th time seeing Becky, 2nd time seeing Seth, and I did the Day with the Dead Boys, I believe it's called, and it's basically, Seth has his CrossFit thing, and they took me through 3 rounds, and it was crazy, I'm not gonna lie. And they said that's their kind of warm up, and I was like, Lord, it was crazy. So I guess becoming a wrestler is going to require a lot more training, gym time, that type of stuff.
Yeah, being a wrestler is no joke. I personally feel it's kind of harder to become a wrestler than it is a baseball player or something like that.
It really is.
At least it's available everywhere. Every high school has, a football and baseball team. Every state has, the colleges and all, but not every state has the wrestling training facilities. And some people have to travel, my favorite Ember Moon, she had to travel 5 hours or something like that to go train with Booker T. Not everyone has it right there and all that.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, you are taking these bumps, you are going through all that physical, all the physical stuff that you have to go through. But then it's also more than that too, because you could be a good wrestler and still kind of have, struggles getting there. It's also about your character, your mic skills, your promos, and all that kind of stuff. So tell me a little bit about the character that you're working on right now.
So the character I did actually tell you about was kind of one a friend gave me, but as a wrestler myself, I've always kind of wanted to be a heel, kind of kind of like Sasha Banks, but I really feel in women's wrestling, that kind of gimmick is overdone. So I'm going back to the drawing board with that. So nothing right now.
Exactly. That's what you gotta really do. You wanna do something that relates to yourself, and at the same time you want to do something that's kind of new that you don't really see out there. Because there are so many like heels and all. It's hard to find like a unique heel and all that kind of stuff. So it's all about finding what fits you best. Like I watch a lot of WoW Women of Wrestling, and a lot of those wrestlers, the gimmicks that it fits them so well, you could tell that they're enjoying it. And that's like a big thing too. If you're not enjoying what you're doing in the character you're portraying, the fans will see that and they'll get bored of you, seeing that you're bored of
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. So yeah, so you're going back to the drawing board, and that's cool. I mean, you're just starting out training, so you can do all that. I mean, and there's also like the possibility of like when you find a character evolve in it as well, because that's a big thing in wrestling too. Like you can't always just keep doing the same thing. Like we've seen like Jericho throughout the years evolve his character and all that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of going back in reverse a little bit. Tell me a little bit about like what made you want to be a wrestler. I know you've been a fan for a minute now, but like there's a lot
Yes.
of people that are fans and that don't want to do it. So how did that come to be?
So I am a senior in high school. So throughout the years, I've kind of always wanted to be a wrestler when I was younger, but I would always go back to like, I'm not going to make it, all those doubts. So I think really meeting Becky my first time, she told me something, and because I mentioned to her that I always wanted to train, but I just didn't. And she asked me why. And that kind of got me thinking. And then I was like, I just spend so much time and I'm passionate about it. So why not try at least? So I think that's what kind of kicked me into start. And I'm going for it now. And I think even if I never make it to like WWE, I think I'd still probably wrestle because I
Yeah, I
just love
mean,
it.
it isn't necessarily always about like going to WWE. You can be on
Yeah.
the independent circuit and still be happy. And sometimes that's better for some people because you can wrestle on your own schedule. When you're with WWE, you're obligated to work, a certain amount of days a year. As far as, being on the independent circuit, you can kind of do your own thing and, have fun doing it too. And I mean, like, and the good thing about you is you're young, you can kind of figure out these things and kind of really grow. And especially with social media, and I'll tell you this too, is like really utilize that and build your brand. Like, don't look at yourself as just a wrestler, look at yourself as a brand. Doing what you're doing now, you're making friends, you're getting fans before you even start. So it kind of gets your name out there, prior. So then when you actually are like done your training, wrestling promotions may already know about you and be willing to sign you. And that's probably the path you're going to have to go through anyway. Not many people just go straight to WWE, honestly. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I know they do sign some athletes, not like Bianca Belair. She was an athlete, a track runner, and she went there. I believe like Chad Gable did a similar path too, minus the track running though. But like, you may have to go through the independent circuit and all that, and there's nothing wrong with that. It
And I
can,
think honestly, my end goal at the moment really isn't WWE. It's kind of more just having a good career, lots of opponents, great matches, and stuff to look back on.
exactly, because I mean, you as a fan, you have to look at it as you're wrestling, you're still doing it, even if you're not doing it with WWE. Like, you would be surprised. Like, I don't know if you have gone to any independent circuit events, but like I go to MCW a lot. And it's just the atmosphere there. It's just fun. Like the wrestlers, they're having fun. They're not making those big paychecks like WWE, but they're just having so much fun. Like they're always walking around engaging with the fans before the show and all that kind of stuff. And it's just the experience. Like you said, this is something you have passion for. And if this is something you really want to do, it may not necessarily matter where you're wrestling for. Obviously, this being something that you want to do, of course, your main goal is probably going to want to go to WrestleMania and wrestle and all that kind of stuff. And hopefully it happens, but, just doing what you're doing. And at the end of the day, if you are passionate enough and you work hard enough, you'll get there.
Yep.
Yep. So, you said you're going to be wrestling or training full time this summer. How long does the training process usually take?
So for my particular school, can you hear me? Okay. So for my particular school, I believe beginners, it's 3 days a week and it's usually 7 to 10. And then from there, they say you usually graduate within 10 to 12 months and then you start. I don't know if you know like DFW All Pro, like the VIP Dallas events. That's the
Heard
school.
of them. Yeah, I've heard of them.
So they have indie shows and they actually have a lot of talent like Gargano. Like a lot of people have kind of gone through there. So yeah. They have
Yeah.
not like actually training there, but just the shows they put on.
Gotcha. Yeah, because There's actually a training facility down here in Maryland, MCW. They train and they hold events too. And like some of the wrestlers that I've interviewed, they train there and then they actually wrestle. You know, they still wrestle there and all that kind of stuff. So it's good that it's not just like you train and then you kind of have to figure things out for yourself. You could go through them too, and to kind of get yourself out there. So that you definitely have a really good advantage. So as you know, training and being a wrestler and all that, like what is your dream, or who is your dream opponent that you would like to wrestle?
I think the first answer is probably Sasha Banks, but Becky's up there too, because as a person, just watching her story over the years, she's really inspired me. Even being that she was wrestling for like 7 years and then she took a break and then she came back, and it's just, she's my inspiration. So I'd love to wrestle her.
Yeah, that would definitely be, interesting, like, being able to wrestle your heroes and stuff like that. Because I know that was kind of, I don't know how true the story was, but I know like when Mickey James came back to WWE, they did that storyline with her and Alexa, like that was her hero. I don't know if that was just a storyline thing or if that was real, but just like imagine like growing up as a fan and then you get to wrestle your icon like years later. That must be such an amazing feeling.
Yeah.
So last question I have for you, because I know it's been popular for years on the independent circuit, and they've been doing it, on TV on Impact, recently. But what's your opinion on intergender wrestling? Like, is that something that you would do?
That's something I want to do. I support it. I wish we had it in WWE, but I just feel like they're kind of scared because, obviously mainstream wise, no one's going to really look at that. And they'll probably always book the women to kind of win. But I mean, I love intergender wrestling. Candice LeRae, Tessa, even though she's,
Yeah.
I love kind of the art, because I think women and men can be equal in the ring. And sometimes women can be better. Sometimes men can be better. So I love it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Like, I mean, WWE has touched on it, a few times. Like, I know they had like Nia and the men's Royal Rumble, but it's just like because of the fan base that WWE has, they have their hardcore, your casual. There's plenty of people who are gonna look at it as like promoting domestic violence and abuse and all that kind of stuff. So you're not probably really gonna see it in WWE, but like I love seeing it on the independent circuit. Like I actually want, like one of my goals this year is actually go see an intergender match live versus seeing it on TV. And I think it's entertaining. Like I agree, like the women should be treated equal and looked at as equals. And these matches can be like really, really entertaining. Just like I know some people don't like it for the reason that I just mentioned about like promoting the domestic, violence and all that kind of stuff. But also some people might not like the idea of like men like kind of like touching, because I get it. Some women may not want a guy like, touching them. Like I know,
And I understand that completely, but I feel like as a woman in wrestling, I train with men anyway. So, I mean, if you're not comfortable with it, but 9 times out of 10, if you train, you're training with men. So I just feel like it's kind of it shouldn't be that hard.
It should be professional. Like, hey, we're doing this to be professionally, not to look at it. Because I know some people look at like Joey Ryan and some of the stuff he does.
Yeah, for sure. I was just gonna bring them up because those type of matches are like okay, but I feel like just a technical wrestling match could be good.
Exactly. Like there's plenty of good matches. Like there's matches that Tessa was doing, which is off the charts, and like she was taking some beatings too. Like it wasn't even necessarily wrestling sometimes. Like they did, like she got like jumped backstage, excuse me, by like Sammy Callahan and all that. I'm like, this is like pretty intense, and I love it. Like because I mean, you follow me on Twitter, I'm a big advocate for women's wrestling, and I want to see them do this stuff with the men and all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely like, and it's new. That's the thing is too. It's like it's different. I like when wrestling is different. Like going back to Joey Ryan, when I first saw him doing that stuff, I was like, yeah, this is kind of dumb. But then when I really started kind of like appreciating stuff, I'm like, you know what, this is different. He's reinventing himself. And that's what I want to see in wrestling. Like I want to see people do new things, even if it's kind of stupid. Like it's at the end of the day, wrestling is entertainment. It doesn't always have to be like that technical wrestling aspect to it. Like they can go out and have fun, and seeing all the wrestlers and how fun they're having. Like my favorite on the independent circuit, Holiday, she had a match versus Joey Ryan like 2 nights ago or something like that. And they just look like they have so much fun, and that's like the most important thing. Like if the wrestlers are having fun, we're having fun. and I say this about like Brock Lesnar all the time, like people drag him, but when he's out there on TV having fun, I actually get entertained. When he came out the Money in the Bank briefcase dancing with it, like that was fun. Like it was pretty funny. So I mean, yeah, like doing something new, and that's like another thing that you should definitely think of. Like try to look at and do something that no one else does, whether it's like something in the ring, something about your character, or just anything.
Mhm.
Just like really try to stand out, because that's like one of the most important things, especially on the independent circuit. Because like if you realize, I never realized it for the longest time, but there's a lot of different promotions out there. There's a lot of wrestlers out there like standing out and doing all that stuff. Like Joey Ryan, like he gets booked all the time because
Yeah.
you know he's unique. People want to see him. So that's definitely like an important thing to really like do when you're out there on the independent circuit. All right, so Zakia, I think that definitely wraps up our interview, and I just want to thank you so much for joining us today on O Face Wrestling.
Problem. Thank you. It was fun. We have to do it again.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm kind of nervous. Haven't been in front of a camera really, but
You're good. I mean, yeah, I've been doing this for since June, and I still like every time I have someone new on the show, I do kind of get a little nervous. But I mean, it's always fun though. It's good interacting with new people and all that kind of stuff too. So, I mean, especially if you're training, to be a wrestler, it definitely helps you get used to
yep.
spotlight and being in a ring with all these people watching you. So it's definitely good practice too for you. And obviously it's always good practice for me as well too. So yeah, do you want to throw out your social media before we end this show?
At Zykia V on Twitter and Instagram, ZYKIAV. I think that's about it. Those are my two mains.
All right, and then for us, make sure you follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram at OFace Wrestling. Thank you all for joining us today, and then thank you again for joining us on OFace Wrestling. It was fun, and it definitely the doors open for the future if you want to guest on the show again.
Yep.
All right, have a good day, y'all.